Hey Boro fans, welcome back to the Riverside review. It is me, Cal Owen, and oh my goodness, what a way to kick off the season. Honestly, supporting this club should come with a bloody health warning, man. I thought my heart was going to explode. Oh my goodness. As you can see there, 2-1 win over Lincoln City. Yeah, let's just jump into this because this was one crazy start to the bloody season. As you can see, Lincoln City led 1-0 in the 12th minute. Boro conceding an early goal, and it took us all the way to the 62nd minute from Will Lankshear. Lankshearer, hashtag Lankshearer. Alan Shearer, Lankshear combined. Will Lankshear, he is here. He's in Boro. Our saving grace up front. This is the number 9 we needed last season to convert those creative chances into goals. Lankshear has made a statement in his first championship game for the Boro, scoring a double for us. A much needed 3 points to kick off the season. Absolutely amazing. Will Lankshear, you're a fucking legend. Get in. Yeah, so Boro concede early. We get to the 62nd minute. Lankshear scores. And it had to be let right down to the wire. Had to be left right down to the wire for Boro to do their thing. Bags another one. Bags a brace. 2-1 up in the 91st. I think there was about 4 minutes of added time. And Boro walk away with 3 points in our first game week. A lot of people had lost hope. A lot of people losing hope. We didn't have the best game. We didn't by far have the best game. We dominated possession, but yet again, Lincoln, like a lot of these new promoted teams are probably going to do, they started in a low block. They played a 5-3-2. Yeah, 5-3-2. I got it the other way around. So they were playing 5 at the back, they were playing a low block, and as we knew from last season, Boro really struggled to break that low block. Boro opted for a 4-2-2, a formation we did see last season. I can't remember a single game Boro played a 4-2-2 and it actually went well. We do not suit that 4-2-2 system, especially with somebody as integral, as important to Boro as Aidan Morris, currently sitting out injured, which is, it's a big blow. And I think having a deeper lying defensive midfielder, is still good for Boro. But to have 2 when only one of them is really active while the other one's injured just wasn't a really smart idea. So if I was personally Hellberg, I know Hellberg likes to play a certain way, and we do like to play with 2 defensive midfielders. Typically, if we play 2 defensive midfielders going forward, I would like to see Boro readapt the 4-2-3-1 they were playing last season. But in the case of only having one DM, I think it would be better for Boro to go for a 4-1-4-1. So that would be playing with 4 at the back, a deep lying defensive midfielder, 2 wingers, 2 centre mids, 1 box to box, 1 playmaker, and then your striker, of course. Allow for a little bit more versatility, a little bit more playmaking opportunities in the centre of the park with those 2 centre mids rather than having 2 holding midfielders. So as we look at the stats, as we scroll down to the stats, Boro with 76% possession over a 24% possession rate for Lincoln City. Like I said, Lincoln were more concerned about absorbing and soaking up the pressure that Boro were going to give. No matter what formation or what team that Boro will face, Boro are the kind of team that will go forward. We will create chances. So Lincoln knew they were going to absorb a lot of pressure. So the fact that it's 76% is a little bit high, But it's not a massive shock to me that Boro were so dominant in terms of possession. 2.2 expected goals to their 0.62. I've never really understood expected goals, but at the end of the day, we still got 2 goals, so it's close enough to the original XG. 22 shots to their 10. 22 shots for a game to end 2-1 is pretty mad. I just want to stress this now. It is a little bit later on in the podcast. It is a little bit late on, but I was not able to watch the game. Sadly, I don't know what was up. My stream didn't work, or something didn't work, and I wasn't able to watch the game. So I had to watch a podcast instead. I watched a live watch along podcast. So that's how I got to see the game. And even then, just being around Boro fans, and we're all supporting the same team. We're all having critiques about players' performances. Some people in the chat obviously watching the game and watching the stream. So, we're all in there. We're all enjoying watching the Boro together. So, yeah, I wasn't able to watch the game, which is really unfortunate because, of course, it is the first game of the season. But hopefully, I will be able to watch further games heading into the season. But considering this is the first 3 PM kickoff that we're allowed to watch because of the quota of it not running alongside the Premier League, and them only allowing to show a couple 3 PM kickoff games at a time, all the championship games were on TV. So it's a bit of a shame to miss the first one of the season, and especially one that ended like this. But I'm very much looking forward to watching the highlights. But yeah, I just wanted to put a disclaimer out there, just in case you hear anything in the podcast that you don't agree with. Like I said in all of my other videos, if you have any other kind of opinions or difference of opinion, please do let me know down in the comments below. I love engaging with fellow Boro fans. Or if you're just a football fan in general, you don't have to support the Boro. If you just support the championship, get in the comments, and I will address and get back to you if you do leave a comment. But 23 shots is still pretty mental. How many of them converted on target, we'll find out in a minute. But yeah, Boro definitely still creating those chances, still creating the chances that we were doing last season. So it's nice to see that Boro have still kind of kept their creativity from last season. 39 touches in the opponent's box to their 20. So rather balanced, almost double for Boro. But yeah, again, when you look at how Lincoln were playing, with that deep line, with that low block, they probably would have less touches in our box, playing more of a counter-attacking style of play. So as we see here, 12 minutes in, Adam Reach scores for Lincoln City, assisted by Durakawa. At the end of the day, when you go 1-0 down early on, it's always going to be a fight. You're always going to want to hope that your team pulls one back. Starting off the season with a loss, it sucks for everybody. It's the worst way to start a season. But I'm just glad it obviously didn't end like that. Yellow card in the 36th minute, for Freddie Draper. Yeah, again, gonna have to look at that tackle to kind of get an opinion on it. Half time, Draper comes off, so does Jeffries, and Lincoln make their first 2 substitutes of the game, with Tanto Olafe and Robert Street coming on. And 3 minutes later, Will Lankshear goes and scores for the Boro, giving us Boro fans hope that we could stay in it, and even at that point, fight for at least a point. Starting the season with a point is a lot better than starting with none. So Will Lankshear putting the ball in the back of the net, giving us Boro fans hope. And that hope thankfully paid off at the double later on. Boro, shortly after, made their subs. Now I want to touch on the subs here because initially when I looked at the starting lineup, we had Abdoulaye Kante in the midfield covering that centre defensive mid role that we talked about earlier due to Morris's absence. Neto Borges starting at left back over Max Arston I thought was a interesting choice. To be honest, I would have expected Arston to be starting a majority of games for us, particularly at that left fullback role. So a little bit surprised to see Neto become so much of a regular in the starting 11s. But of course, Neto made way for Arston to come on. Riley McGree came back in. Of course, Riley McGree has been injured, so it was nice to have him show up on the subs list, and it was nice for him to get some minutes as well. Miles Peart-Harris coming on for Leo Castlein. From what I heard, Leo did not have a very good game today, which is a bit of a shame. Of course, he scored 2 goals against Espanyol in pre-season, including one absolutely glorious diving header. Definitely looked in pre-season like Leo had potential to be starting a lot more games for us. You know, it still could be the case. He is a really good number 10, and I'm glad we brought him in. But if he plays like he did today, like I said, I haven't seen the game personally, so I'm not going to be too harsh on all these players. There is a certain player I want to touch on. If you did watch the game, you'll probably know, but I'm going to leave that for last. But I really like Leo Castlein. I think he's got bags of potential. He's still young. He's still a very young player. And he only came in last season, so we've got to give him a chance to kind of settle and, you know, do all that stuff we expected him to do when he signed. And then Jeremy Sarmiento coming in for Carl Joseph. Carl Joseph, I think he's an impact sub. You know, he's the guy we want to bring off the bench to replace Will Lankshear or David Strelic or Tommy Conway. You know, any of those forward players, we want Joseph to come on. Of course, he can play as a winger and he can play as a 9. And this guy, like, I raved about Carl Joseph I think it was the Wrexham video, in the Wrexham pod. I really like Carl Joseph. I think he was a really good pickup, not because he's Scottish. It's not just because he's Scottish. I know if you follow the channel for a while, I really do like my Scottish players, as well as like Tommy Conway, of course, and John McLaughlin, even though he doesn't get many games, if any games really. But yeah, Carl Joseph definitely, I think, needs to be an impact striker. He needs to be that super sub that we bring on, because he brings a lot of quality to our front line. So when we start getting tired in those last 20-30 minutes, we expect Carl Joseph to come on and perform. But Sarmiento came on, of course, was a loanee from Brighton last season. Didn't really live up to expectation. Came to us as kind of this, player who's had experience with promoted teams. Boro, of course, pushing for promotion. And he came in and just didn't really deliver upon expectation. And then come the end of his loan spell, Boro decided to cash in and with a loan to buy deal brought him in for around 3.3 million. Personally, if you'd asked me at the end of last season, do you want to sign Sarmiento? I would have said no, because I don't think he really filled a void or a gap in the team that we really needed. But as things stand, am I disappointed that Sarmiento's come in? Absolutely not. It gives us that versatility as a winger and as a 10. So having that squad depth for Boro, if you've been supporting Boro for a while, we always struggle with squad depth, end up playing players out of position, towards the back end of the season. So definitely having that depth and that experience in the Championship, never a bad thing. So when Sarmiento came off, Lincoln City made another sub with Rico Hackett coming off. Ben House coming off for Rico Hackett to come on. Tanto getting a yellow just before the magic happened, as in the 91st minute, Will Lankshear assisted by Riley McGree, the guy who was injured not so long ago, comes on, the magic man, the Australian Janino, comes on and assists Will Lankshear. Absolute scenes. Originally, I didn't get any pop-ups, I didn't get any notifications when this goal went in. I just saw the stream going absolutely mad, and then checked the score. Boro 2, Lincoln 1. Absolutely ecstatic. Got up out my seat and was cheering, chanting, celebrating. Oh my goodness. Honestly, for a game that I didn't watch on TV and couldn't see what was going on, I was still over the moon when Boro scored. You know, to get off to a start with a win at home, you know, with all these new players, all these new signings, absolutely loved it. Up the Boro, keep it up. Thank you, Will Lankshear. Amazing, absolutely amazing. Further into the game, we've got Tom Bayliss coming on, Adam Reach coming off. Adam Reach was, of course, the Lincoln City goal scorer in the 12th minute very early on. Andre Kubis comes on as well, with Darikwa coming off. And then Alfie Jones coming on for Morgan Whittaker, getting some game time in there. So the player I wanted to talk about is that player that came off for Boro in the 92nd minute. Morgan Whittaker apparently did not have a very good game. A lot of people were complaining about Morgan Whittaker's performance, his lack of consistency, and just his overall kind of like demeanour on the game. You know, he really seemed to struggle to kind of find his footing. Let's just take a little look with Morgan Whittaker's stats, if it'll load for us. Are we gonna load today? Oh, a little bit laggy there, but we got it. So Morgan Whittaker played a total of 89 minutes. I would have thought he would have played 92, 93, because he came off in the 92nd minute. 0 goals, 0 assists. He got a 0.2 expected goals. Chances created 2. 91% of his accurate passes. You know, 1 shot on target, 2 shots off target. So all in all, he had 3 shots, and 2 of which were off target. As we can see here by the goal map, we've got 2 outside of the box goals, which clearly meant that he went for it. You know, he tried to score from a decent distance outside the box. Not many cut inside, you know, play it across the box kind of goals that we've seen him tuck into to the far corners. 66 touches overall, 6 touches in the opposition box. That's really low for Whittaker. I would have expected at least, you know, double digits there for Morgan Whittaker. But I can definitely see why people have said that he's had a poor game. 2 dribbles passed. You know, 5 out of 11 of his ground duels won. He was fouled once, but he committed 3 fouls himself. So, all in all, I can see why he's not got the biggest praise for this game. All in all, Boro, absolutely amazing. I love this club to bits. Up the Boro. And this has been the Riverside Review. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next weekend. Up the Boro.